AA Beyond Belief is a podcast by, for, and about people who have found a secular path to sobriety in Alcoholics Anonymous. Today we will meet Colette, originally from California and now living in Virginia. Colette wrote to let me know that she enjoys the podcast and she also likes the inclusiveness of secular AA meetings. So I asked her to join us, and today she is my guest. Hello, Colette. Welcome to AA Beyond Belief.
Thank you so much.
Well, it's nice to have you, and it's great to be spending a night talking with another person in recovery. As we were saying before we started recording, I think it'd be great to hear your story, and we will just let a conversation flow from that, if that sounds good for you.
Sounds good. So I am Colette. I'm an alcoholic, and my sobriety date, December 23rd, 2006.
Oh, you're coming up on an anniversary.
I am. Really one day at a time. And I say that just like today, things happen as things do, and I ended up dealing with life and missed my noon meeting. So this is my meeting for the day. So I'm glad to be here. But
it's my meeting actually also.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think my first drink when I was 13, and my parents were divorced, and they were one set was in Chicago and one set was in Baltimore, and they both were big partiers. The Baltimore set, those parents were the martini drinking, golf course, New York Times kind of family. And then my dad was disco floor. He had a disco floor in his house. He ended up paying me 1 out of every 10 joints that I rolled for him, and I got allowance in pot also. So when I was 13, I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to be a grown up. Most kids, I think, feel that way, but I really, as much disdain as I were to eventually have for them and coach to have for them in therapy, at the time, it looked twinkly and delicious and exciting and fun. And I knew what to do. I knew how to put the lemon and the salt on my hand, and I knew how to make a martini. I couldn't wait, and I didn't wait. So I remember the first time I really drank hard. I loved it. Had a party kind of by myself. My girlfriend was also in the 7th grade, and she was boring and she hated it. And she kept telling me to shut up and go to sleep. And we never talked again. And I learned quickly that she wasn't my type of person. I'm sure she learned that I wasn't her type of person. And then it was just, all bets were off. I don't know how I made it through high school. I think I missed 42 days of my senior year because why go to school when you can sit out in 32-degree weather and smoke pot and get drunk? I ended up doing well in college. I don't know really how I did that, other than I was just interested. Really, I was intellectually interested. And in college, part of my sometimes hesitant to bring regular AA meeting, but college, I started getting straight A's in college and writing a lot of poetry, and became anorexic and was studying in England and had to go back to the United States. And I admitted myself to the hospital and did a 30-day treatment program for anorexia and depression. Went back twice. And they told me when I was there that I should probably consider AA. I thought drinking was not my problem, parents' problem. And it was the furthest thing from my mind. So I worked really, really hard in recovery. So I kind of knew what it was like. Unfortunately, there were no steps. It was a lot of therapy. There weren't any steps, and there was it was just kind of me against the world. And my early 20s, and I kind of moved on from that, thankfully, and then went straight to drinking and never got a DUI, drank and drove all the time. I wasn't really a daily drinker, and I wasn't really a daytime or morning drinker, because when I drank until I got sick. And I would get so sick that it would take me about 2 days recover.
So was your recovery from anorexia through therapy? Okay, and then after you kind of felt like you were comfortable with that, then you started into your drinking?
Yeah, I drank prior to that too, for sure. I was more of like a binge drinker.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And it was hard to differentiate by a party girl or a binge drinker. And what's the difference? I didn't have a problem with it. I had been off and on suicidal, depressed through much of my life, but was being treated for that. So drinking to me was, and really became, a solution. I cared, but I couldn't admit to myself that I cared, because if I did, then I might have to do something about it, which I wasn't willing to do. And, going into my late 20s, early 30s, add cocaine, stay up later, a million jobs. I remember one time sharing in an AA meeting that I counted how many jobs I'd had. And I think it was like, I don't know, 52 or something.
Oh my goodness.
And the whole room, it's bad when the whole room of AAP, everybody in the room went, so I thought, it was a big learning curve for me as to what to share and what not to share, because I came into AA sharing everything. But if I didn't like a job, if it interfered, I didn't get along with people. I had a lot of love in my heart, but I didn't know how to do anything. I've heard it said before, but I missed the rules. Somehow, and deference to people with autism. I mean, I thought for a while, I'm like, maybe I have autism because I don't get these. Continued to just, I get kicked out of apartments and, and like I said, I had been pulled over for a DUI once and they let me go, and just, I almost sometimes wish that I had been taken to jail. Like if somebody would have made me do it, I may have done it. But that didn't happen. So my path was that, and my daughter doesn't know this, but my path was that I was separated from my husband. We were drinking and doing drugs, and I got pregnant, and we got back together as a result and had my daughter. And I always wondered why people didn't come to me and say, I think you have a drinking problem. Sometimes people did, but they kind of skirted around the issue. And certainly if somebody said, like, intimated in any way that it was a problem, that conversation was over.
Yeah, that was me too. If it ever came up, if anybody even suggested that it might be, I'd become angry. I would just deny it, and I believed myself. I believed.
That's what denial is, right?
Yeah, it really is. It's crazy. It's crazy. The other day I was talking to somebody about my drinking. There's actually another person in the program. He happens to be a reporter, and he's doing a story on people who drank alone. I didn't really drink alone, but I drank in bars, and I felt like I was alone. But anyway, I was describing the whole alcoholic drinking, and even to him, I couldn't make it. It didn't make sense. It was just so crazy. And on one hand, I get angry when someone tells me I might be an alcoholic, and yet I believe that I'm not. It's just crazy. It's just, the whole thing was crazy, and it doesn't make sense, but that's the nature of it, I guess.
It is. And, and speaking to drinking alone, I did drink alone. Sometimes on lunch breaks, I would just go and drink. And I drank, I drank at bars too, but I drank fast. I drank with an intent, and always, I tried all the things like adding water or a glass of water, and that lasted for a sip of water. But yeah, so I was walking out once. My daughter was about 3 years old. I was walking in beautiful, sunny Southern California, and I was getting my daughter out of the car, and I was like blinded by the sun, and I'm, the baby's crying, and I'm like saddled with a diaper bag, and my head's beating from a hangover. And my neighbor pulled up, and she said, "How are you feeling?" I said, "I'm fine. Do you remember anything?" Yeah, I remember that, you had a party. It was fun. Thank you so much. And meanwhile, I'm trying to piece things together because I had no idea what went down. And she said, "No, do you have any idea how drunk you were?" Yeah, I was pretty drunk, admittedly. She said, "No, you were hammered." And I said, "Oh, yeah, I guess you could say I was hammered." She said, "Do you have any idea what you did?" And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I have no idea what I did. And she said, "You spilled red wine all over my floor. You spilled candle wax all over my carpet. You called my best friend a hooker. You hit on my brother in front of your husband." She goes, "And you owe me an apology, and you need to come over today and clean it all up." And I did. And the next day I looked in the yellow pages and I looked up AA and went to my first meeting.
Wow. That's amazing that she made that effort like that.
Isn't it?
That she confronted you like that. I think most people would have just said, "I'm never going to talk to that person again," and just left it, but that she really made that effort to come over. Have you ever talked to her after that?
Yeah, I think I made like an amends / apology, thank letter of gratitude. I don't know. I just remember like, you know what? You don't even know what you did that day. And she was a little standoffish.
Yeah, well,
I mean, that's okay.
yeah, yeah.
Really difference.
Yeah, that's amazing though. It's a nice story. I mean, I can relate to it. It's just those things that you never really expect to make a difference in your life, and they did. That's what it was, I guess. So you made it to your first meeting.
I did. I made it to my first meeting. I was impressed. I'm glad I was living where I was living. Everybody was driving nice cars and looked pretty. And had I gone into some of the meetings I've been to since then, I
might have lasted. Yeah.
And of course, everyone was happy and nice and smart and articulate and cool. And I ended up picking up like 3 or 4 white chips. It took a lot of willpower. I know that's kind of controversial as far as, you can read in all the literature in AA that there is such a thing as, proper use of the will. And I needed to white knuckle it because I grew up believing in nothing. And we never went to church. I always wanted to go to church because everybody else did.
That's my background too. I actually knew nothing about religion, and by the time I was my 20s, late teens, early 20s, I really started feeling like almost embarrassed that I didn't understand like the basic religious references and literature. I knew nothing about it, so I ended up taking a class just to understand what it was about. Because I just didn't know. I didn't know the difference between a Protestant and a Catholic. I didn't know nothing.
Well, I think in a way, to me, that's like a little bit sad. I just, I don't know. My dad was Jewish. My mom was Catholic. We all had Christmas trees. I didn't grow up knowing about anything. And so effectively was an atheist,
It took me a long time to figure out that I was an atheist. I don't know what I did. I just kind of pretended like, okay, whatever, I believe, you believe.
Well, yeah, I remember thinking, I heard somebody say Jesus or Jesus Christ. And I remember they just said a cuss word. I really was, because when my mom said Christ, it meant like, you better like run and hide. So that, I think it's interesting, in California, it wasn't as heavy handed as it is here in Virginia sometimes. Not that it's heavy handed here. Thank goodness that's all written into things. But that turned me off a little bit at the beginning. It really did, hearing that if I didn't accept it's in steps. If I didn't accept something greater than myself, I was going to lose.
I found it weird initially. I remember being uncomfortable and finding it strange initially. And also I found it kind of in a way kind of mystical and, kind of like that too. But I think with me, I just kind of set all that aside, and I disliked this about me, but I ended up just conforming and going along until I didn't even know what I believed anymore. I was mouthing the words as if I believed this stuff, I guess.
I think you kind of have to, it's, what did they say about desperation? I mean, I was desperate enough to, and I still kind of joke in my own head that I wish, and I have been to a lot of churches seeking. I'm a seeker. I wish that it would be so easy and wonderful and like but I can't be disingenuous. I can't. But I am open to it because I also believe that I don't know. I don't know.
So you stuck with these meetings despite your misgivings about, or the discomfort, I guess, about what you were hearing about the need for a higher power and all that kind of stuff.
I did. I found a lot of really awesome people. I sought them out. I found a lot of people that said, admit that you're not it, that you are not, that there is a power greater than yourself. And, the acronyms like a group of drunks. That kind of was enough for me to say, well, if I'm in a group of 50 people or one of 50 people, 49 of them collectively probably know more than I do. Right. So in that way, I felt like I could turn it over to that, kind of amorphous entity, without having to define it. Now, since then, I have really tried to define it, but more and more I feel comfortable with not knowing or not defining it.
Me too. I've actually given up on the whole. Well, this is what I decided. I decided, well, you know what? I don't even talk like that. Higher power. I don't have a higher power. I decided I'm going to talk like a regular human being, and it's the people. It's you people that have helped me out. It's other people that help me out. I don't have a higher power. I don't need a higher power. I don't want a higher power. I just don't even use that language anymore. But it took me a while to get there. At first, it was like, oh, my higher power is this, or my higher power is that. Now it's like, that's not my language. I choose not to even define it that way.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that in the same way that that we use our pronouns he and she and they, and I don't feel the need to rewrite everything to make a statement. So if somebody's saying God, I can say I usually say God just because that's what it's called. Or, my daughter is 15 and she's very into like trans and like they and that's fine, but I don't feel like I need to be bogged down in the pronouns. I also feel like that God or whatever you're comfortable calling it, or we have to call it something otherwise we can't talk about it.
Right. True. Yeah. God, the belief in a God. You're right. Yeah, I guess yeah.
So, but I feel like it lives in other words, I don't have to search and seek, and it's something that exists in me. And I'm not, my sponsor, she lives in California, and she often tells me when I pray to say, instead of please keep me sober, to say thank you, because I don't have to, I'm not in the position to beg anymore, and that provides kind of some strength that I never imagined having.
Yeah, I kind of evolved in that way too. Part of my story is, for a long time I did the praying because out of rote, I guess, because it was what they told me to do. So I did it. And then after realizing that I was an atheist, and I stopped the praying, but I kind of moved towards more like affirmations. And I started thinking about things like, even when it comes to like the Serenity Prayer, which I really love, like you said, it wasn't really anything I had to ask for. I kind of decided that I already have it. It's just a matter of tapping into it. It's a matter of kind of making myself aware that I need it, and I need to tap into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I still say the prayer. I say it just as it's written, but I say it because it's something I've known for a long time, and it kind of centers me and brings me to focus, I guess.
Yeah, like a mantra.
Yeah, it is like a mantra.
Yeah. What is the? I really like the prayer of Saint Francis.
Yeah, I was gotta say that's a good one too. I mean, you can't argue with what it says, right? I mean,
comforted. Basically, stop thinking about me so I can be of service to someone else.
Yeah. There's actually, I agree. It's good. It's got some good stuff in there.
To me, I spent years, and I am thankful that I was in the therapy I was in. I was in 3 therapy sessions a week for my eating disorder, and I talked about myself ad infinitum. I mean, I talked about me, my childhood, my family, my friend, and it is such a departure, I think, looking at things in that way. That doesn't mean that I'm not self-absorbed. I mean, part of my problem today revolved around, this is super, first world problems. I was convinced that my cleaning lady was going to quit. And I was so nervous and worried that she didn't like me anymore.
Oh.
and so I still get on that wheel. Let me think about me for just way too long. And it's really uncomfortable. I don't like it. I don't want to live like that. And I do believe that kind of thinking is the kind of thinking that kept me drinking and could lead me back to drinking if I am not aware of it. And if it gets too bad, I need to reach out,
So what was it like when you moved from California to Virginia? Was it a difficult adjustment?
So I had 3 months sobriety when we moved.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Wow. So it's been a while. So you've been in Virginia for a long time then.
Yeah. And there was some divine intervention. And I do believe in that as well. Again, I don't believe I could begin to define it, but I do believe there's, listening to like the police, like there's a synchronicity or something that exists if ill and open to it. If I don't think that I know, then I believe that there are things out, trees and birds and just in the sea. But I had 3 months, and we were living at my mother-in-law's house, and she had been in and out of the program too for years. And I put my daughter, well, 3 months old about, and put my daughter in her car seat to carry her outside, put her in the car. I decided that it would be wasn't even a decision. It was just an impulse. I reached under the cabinet and I grabbed the bourbon, and I was going to pour it in a sip cup, drive from Baltimore to Richmond, sipping on some bourbon with a baby in the backseat. And my mother-in-law walked in at that minute and went, "What are you doing?" And she had a New Yorker accent too. She was really intimidating. And I said nothing. I was just away. So I didn't drive drunk car. I mean, I didn't know why. I just thought it would. I just decided to grab the bourbon, and I didn't. And I stayed sober for another day. So getting here, I was, and this is, AA refers to willing to go to any lengths. I was willing to go to any length. So I called AA when I got here. I had some people up and take me to meetings. I met people right away. I met other moms with babies. And what was really cool is I met like a group of 5 women, and they all had kids the same. And so we would go to meet and then go to a park afterwards, and our kids would play, or the babies would play. And we would sit around, and they had like 20 years of sobriety at the time. So kind of guided me.
That's nice.
Yeah. Really lucky.
Yeah. I kind of feel that way too. I kind of, when I was new, I ended up in this group where there were a lot of, I was young. I was in my 20s, and other guys in their 20s getting sober at the same time. And it was just kind of fortunate for me because we kind of hung out after the meetings, and I didn't realize it at the time, obviously, but it meant a lot to me at the time. But I didn't realize what good it was doing for me mentally and emotionally and with my growth and everything. But looking back on it, it was like when you were visiting with the women at the park, I think that was probably so helpful for you, probably more so than maybe even what was happening in the meetings. I mean, that's my experience.
Yeah. Well, they were, none of them judged me. None of them were affiliated with any religion. One was talking about like Wiccan stuff, and the other would talk about, laughing about, they were really, I mean, they're still my friends, but our kids kind of have grown up a bit and went in different directions. So I don't see them as much, but they were really cool. I mean, they were like a very evolved AA people.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is lucky. It's fortunate.
Yeah, very fortunate. And I miss that. I don't really have that now. Really have a lot of AA friends now. And I don't know why. Part of it is that I have my own life now. And I always want to kind of keep one foot in the program, but I also I do stuff. I have friends, and it's funny because I get kind of excited when I meet a new friend in the program, like, oh, good, I got a new friend, and then something happens.
So, do you have secular AA meetings in your area, or did you kind of discover them after COVID when everybody went online?
No, before COVID, my therapist about 3 years ago was like, you need to go to secular meeting, and the Buddhist one.
Refuge Recovery, or
I loved it.
Yeah, I like that book. I guess it's called Dharma Recovery now, but yeah, I like it a lot.
I loved it. Prior to COVID, it was in a Quaker church, and I had been to the meeting house testing it out anyway. I would be Quaker, honestly, but my family would have no part.
Yeah.
Around and quiet for an hour. But it's really cool and peaceful. It's just amazing. So the meeting was in there, and it's beautiful inside. It's tiny little, white kind of house with just red velvet pews and rickety old floors and giant windows and super peaceful. And the first part of the meeting, like somebody would read something and we would meditate on it. And then for the second part of the meeting, we would have like an open discussion. I loved it.
Yeah.
There's not too much here that I don't know. I don't really feel like a huge pull, like with that with that group, I would go to that group again. But that disbanded pretty quickly when COVID started.
Yeah. How's COVID impacted you?
At first I didn't know what was going on. Like, well, no one did. Maybe more so now, but I did a lot of online meetings and I liked it. I stopped liking it. I liked it a lot because I got to hear, I think in Virginia, this is again kind of, I'm painting this with a broad brush, but the meetings tend to be bless your little heart, and people don't share very openly very often. And some of the online meetings were like the meetings in Southern California, people were really open. I mean, they were awesome, but it just, I got to experience some of that and I really liked it. And then the meetings here started opening back up and I started going back to them. And I noticed that when I was on online meetings, I would start looking at my phone, and start, looking at Facebook or just very ADD.
Right.
Behavior. It's really easy because there's no
Right.
nobody holding me accountable.
Yeah. I don't have anything against meeting online, the Zoom meetings and everything like that. I like it. They're nice. It's good to see my friends, but I don't go to the Zoom meetings now because, quite honestly, because I'm working from home, I'm working on my computer all damn day. And at the end of the day, it's like, I don't want to be on another Zoom meeting. I have had enough of it, and so what happens is at the end of the day, I turn my computer off and I go in the other room and I have to get away from it. I don't want to log back on again and go to another online meeting. Besides, this kind of keeps me busy anyway. I've the podcast, and Angela and I do a live stream on Fridays, and that kind of keeps me kind of plugged in. Yeah, it is fun.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, we do what we do every Friday at 7:00 Central. We do a live stream, and we stream it on YouTube and Facebook. And so people can go and they can make comments. Actually, we have a phone number. People can call in too. And so we always have a different topic every week. And we do that. So it's kind of like a meeting party. It's kind of fun. It's fun.
Yeah. See, I love stuff like that. My life has changed so much. I'm talking to you right now. I'm in my pajamas. It's 7:39 here, and I 7 and 8 o'clock at night, even on a Friday night, I'm so lame now.
I know.
But I like it. I like lame. Like
I'm the same way. It's like I get like my energy starts going down during the day, and by 6 or 7 o'clock at night, I'm pretty much done. But doing something like this and the live stream kind of perks me up. Kind of like, oh, I like that. But otherwise, I call it a night pretty early.
Yeah, I do too.
So tell me about, and we can kind of wind up, I guess, about how you approach your recovery today. Is it more experiential, or do you like the steps, do the steps, feel those are important?
I like the steps, do the steps. I think they're important.
Okay.
I don't sit there and stare at them.
Right.
But I believe that maybe not deliberately, but I try to practice them. But I don't even think I could, after years of being in meetings, I don't even think I could tell you what they are from 1 to 12.
And I'm kind of like actually that way now. I've incorporated steps in my life for most of my life now. And so for me, it's like, it's kind of like a framework it's how I do business now. And they just kind of happen to me. And it's not like you say, I'm not reading them, studying them, whatever, deliberately doing them like that now. But I did in the past when I was going to my first initial group, and we did that. So I agree with you. I think they're good. I think they're good. I think it really is helpful to have some sort of a framework, some sort of a process to follow.
That's what I referred to at the beginning, saying I came out without a book of rules. I don't know how I missed everything. I don't know how I missed it. And this provides me with that framework. And, and I think for me, keeping, going to meetings, I probably go to 4 meetings a week, and I pray in the morning. I try to meditate, some of it's from that Rebellion Dogs.
Oh yeah.
Book.
Yeah.
Love that book. And then I also read something from this Buddhist monk from the mid 20th century that I really like. And then I'll read something from the the AA meditations or whatever, just to kind of ground me. I mean, my wheels fall off at any part of the day, but at least with that, I have, a chance to start. Because I think, for me, alcohol is a symptom of my disease. The disease is still there, so I need to treat it.
So how are things going today?
Good. I'm a mom of a teenager. That's really weird. And I mean, really weird. And it's good. I'm on the other thing that's not talked about very much in the meetings is depression's a big part of my story, and I'm still medicated for that. I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't.
Yeah, me too. I'm the very same way. I still take antidepressants and have for a long time now, and I'm glad that I do. I mean, they help me. What can I say? So.
Yeah, I was sober and pulled into a meeting and was in a parking lot and was crying so hard and so deeply for no reason that I was going to kill myself. And, I told a close friend, I'm like, I'm sitting here in the car. I want to kill myself. I have a 4-year-old and I want to kill myself in the church parking lot. Like, that is not normal.
Anybody, and I've heard people in meetings dissuade someone from, personally, people were telling me not to take antidepressants or even to seek help for depression, that it was all part of alcoholism or whatever. It wasn't. It was a different thing. And people don't understand just how debilitating it can be. But It is. When I was free of that, it was like a tremendous weight lifted off my shoulders so that I could actually do something else, So it was, I understand completely. I think that's critical to take care of that.
Yeah. And I mean, I know of one girl, in particular that they told her that we're not, no.
I know. That's the last things anyone should ever do. And it kills me that people still do that. My therapist told me, my doctor told me that she hears that from her patients, that people in AA meetings are telling them not to go to therapy or see a doctor or take medication. That's crazy. I just can't believe that still happens, but unfortunately.
Well, people in AA will tell you that depression is not real, and that's like telling them that alcoholism is.
I know real. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me because alcoholism is kind of centers in the brain too. So come on, give me a break.
But that was a really hard, I heard a lot in AA, during that time, if you only did the steps better.
I know. And I hear people, that's one thing about the steps that people need to be careful about. Either that someone else is putting pressure on you to do them just the right way, or you yourself. And this is what just breaks my heart to see someone beat themselves up because they think they're depressed because they're not doing some step right.
Yeah, I was doing that. I was I was thinking to myself, but I was kind of encouraged to think it. I was thinking I must not, I'm pretty sure I'm praying right. I'm pretty sure that I'm reading the literature. I'm pretty sure that I did something called Back to Basics.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I've heard that was great. Actually, it was great because it was 4 weeks. It was done.
It's kind of like boot camp for AA boot camp.
Well, I needed it. I couldn't afford to sit around and think about, I don't know. But yeah, that whole, I know some people that have died as a result of that kind of judgment and misguidance and just, it's bad. But I feel like I have that experience, strength, and hope so that if I ever hear anybody talking about that, like I always want to be the first one to reach out and help because I get it.
Well, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. It was nice to talk with you. I really enjoyed this and I think you're doing great. And it's, I really relate well to your story. And I know that other people that'll be listening to this will as well. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
And that's it. That's another episode of AA Beyond Belief, the podcast. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to help support our podcast and website, you can do that by becoming a patron on patreon.com/AA Beyond Belief, or even becoming a member of our YouTube channel. And if you can't do any of that, that's okay too. We'll be back again real soon for another episode. Thanks again for listening. Bye-bye. Thank you, Colette.
That was awesome. Thank you so much.